our shoes, something we learn at a very early age, but you may want to try lacing them up a different way to protect your feet and feel more comfortable. Dr. Titorya Stover is here to talk about different ways to tie our shoes. She's a podiatrist at the Triad Foot Center, a member of the Cone Health Medical Group. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so you say it depends on what condition your feet are in. Correct. As to how you should tie your shoes. You have an example for us.
Yes. So I have several different shoes here that are outlined. So different problems or different elements will determine what's the best technique on how tying your shoe. I'm going to go over a few common conditions. There's lots of different ways which can be found on our website for Triad Foot Center under our patient education tab. But the first one I'm going to go over is actually tying the shoe to prevent any type of heel slippage.
Okay.
More common in females, especially people who have a more narrow foot type or either narrow heel. Generally, a lot of times it's easier to find a shoe that can accommodate, a wider aspect of the foot at your toes, but it's harder to find shoes that will accommodate at the heel.
Okay.
So this first technique involves lacing the shoe normally, and then once you get to the top eyelets, making a loop. So I'll kind of demonstrate that here.
Okay. So come back, if you'll come back to her on camera so she can demonstrate. Okay, go ahead.
So when you get to the top of, there's a hole here that's available, and you can actually take the string and loop it through, kind of making like a bunny ear.
On both sides.
Like so. Once you get this bunny ear, the technique is to lace through the opposite bunny ear to actually create like a little lasso for a lock to keep the heel locked down. So this is how it should look. And when you pull or cinch down, it makes a loop here that actually secures your heel in once you tie your shoes.
Oh, so and then you would tie it like the normal way. Okay, so that's for if you have a loose on the heel. What would be the next one?
So this technique is tying the shoe to avoid any type of irritations. And I've already pre-laced the shoe here to make it simple. But as you can see here, this way it avoids any irritation at this point. So you lace the shoe like you would normally do, crossing fashion, and then once you get to the area that is bothersome on the top of the foot, then you want to go up the sides along here, kind of boxing out the problem area.
So if you have like a really bony top of your foot that you would want to do something like this to avoid that irritation.
Correct.
Okay, and then we have one more example.
And then the last example, and I've already pre-laced this one as well just to kind of save time, and it's more for people who have conditions where the toe box and their toes kind of jam, have hammer toes, or the toes hit the insides and they're experiencing darkening of the nails. So you want to lace in a parallel fashion from side to side. And once you lace from side to side, then you take the free lace here and you actually make sure it's in a diagonal fashion to lift or pull up the toe box. And you can see as I'm pulling here, it's pulling up this side of the toe box because the way that the shoe is laced in a oblique fashion here, allowing the toe box to pull up.
Are there common mistakes we make when tying our shoes, like too tight, too loose?
So too tight and too loose are very common. Also, choosing ill-fitting shoes, so not sizing your shoes appropriately when they're purchased is also another common problem. The best tips are buying your shoes later in the day. Generally, if you have any swelling in the feet, your shoes need to be able to accommodate that. Also, making sure when you are sized that you're standing instead of sitting, because the pressure in your feet changes, and so sometimes the arch collapses or your feet spreads out when you stand. So getting sized standing is a good tip. Also, making sure you have enough space at the end of your toe. A lot of people have the misconception of thinking that they should only worry about the big toe, but not in everyone. Their big toe is the longest toe. Sometimes it's the second toe. So having at least about a ½ of an inch space there in your toe box is enough to accommodate. Also, if you have any pre-existing conditions like bunions, hammer toes, or you already use special inserts or orthotics, you always want to take that with you when you go for shoes.
Well, great advice. Thank you so much. And you can learn more about Cone Health services for the community, things like healthy lifestyle tools, resources, and a calendar of upcoming classes. Just go to conehealth.com/wellness.